Class is in session. We all know that school is right around the corner, and if you want to be an absolute academic weapon this semester, I'm talking all A's, we've never even heard of an A-, let alone a B, then you need to watch this video because I'm about to drop all the tips on how you're gonna have a 4.0 this semester in college. First and foremost, you need a planner. Keeping everything in your mind or in your notes app is not cutting it anymore. It can be a paper planner or an electronic one. I personally like to use Google Spreadsheets. I know a lot of people like to use Notion. Either one, honestly, Google Spreadsheets is just a lot simpler to use in my opinion, but if you want a video on how I make my Google spreadsheet, I will definitely do that. It's not enough just to have a planner. You're gonna pick one day out of the week. For me, it's Sunday. Every single Sunday, you're gonna update your planner. How do you do that? You're gonna go to your syllabus or whatever platform that your school uses to keep track of assignments, and you're gonna look at all the assignments that you have due through that week, and then you're just gonna type it in. Personally, I like to have some sort of like check mark or like ticking off boxes system because it's just like so much more satisfying to me to say like, okay, I've done this, check. As annoying as it sounds, you need to read your syllabus for every single class. The whole thing, front to back. I know teachers at my university who have put extra credit at the bottom of their syllabus just to see if people get through the whole thing. But besides that, you just need to know like what every teacher's policies are before starting the class so that you're not surprised when it comes to finals and you're like, oh shit, how am I gonna pull through? When it comes to your grade in the class, do not neglect the little bitty points, like the participation points or whatever they may be in your case. I am guilty of this honestly, like something will just be 5% of your grade, so you'd be like, oh, whatever. And those 5% will be coming in clutch when it's final season. And now all of a sudden you need a 95 on the final instead of a 90. You know what I mean? So if your professor has any sort of like little assignments that get you like easy points, definitely do them. In terms of actually studying, anytime you have an exam coming up, you need to create a study plan. I'll put an example of a study plan that I've had this past semester on the screen. Just something to keep yourself organized so that you're not leaving all of the big tasks when it comes to studying until the end. Because that's when it becomes hectic and that's when you're stressed out. I mean, you're gonna be stressed out anyway, but you might as well minimize it where you can. I feel like a lot of people don't talk about the power of a good study spot. I would dedicate time to finding a good 3 to 4 study spots that you actually like. And beyond that, these study spots all need to have different vibes. Because whenever you have a specific assignment that has a certain vibe, whether it be something kind of casual that you can like do while you're talking with your friends, or whether it be something that you need to lock in for, you need to know where to go. My last tip for this video is utilize positive reinforcement. What does that mean? Get yourself a fucking sweet treat. And it doesn't just need to be to reward yourself after you study. It can literally be used as motivation to study. Positive reinforcement actually works even when you're doing it on yourself. That is all for this video. Of course, I have so much more I could tell you, but for now, go be an academic weapon.
Here's how to get straight A's, coming from a 4.0 GPA Harvard student. The method of loci. If there's a lot of information you need to memorize for a class, begin by imagining yourself walking through a familiar place, such as your house. As you walk through each room, pick a piece of information that you're going to store in this room. Now practice recalling the information that you stored along your path as you imagine yourself walking the path from beginning to end. Save this example for reference and follow for more study tips.
I want good grades, but I don't know how to study. Okay, well listen, bitch. We're gonna go over some. Welcome back to my show, baddies. If you're new here, I'm a pre-med and I get A's pretty much all the time. I've only gotten 1 B and I'm a junior in neuroscience and pharmacy. I'm a double major. So you know you can trust me. I've gotten A's in Orgo 1, Bio, Anatomy and Physio, Physics 1. You can trust me. So today we're gonna go over how I study for neuroscience because I apply this study method to other classes like anatomy, biology, physio, I think I even do it for physics. Like, it's really applicable. So the first thing we'll go through is like a little notability tour because the way that I have things really organized is like by semester. So like my winter class was just this one. Let me hide it. And these are all my spring 2024 classes. I don't know if you guys can see that, but first things first, you're gonna need to make a homework schedule, which is my little this thing. Oh my god, bitch. And I put all my homework assignments there so that I stay on top of them. Low-key kicking my ass this semester, it's fine. So that's number one, because when I looked at that calendar and I was marking days off of as I went, like I saw like 3 weeks ahead that I had my neuroscience exam, 2 weeks ahead. And just having the constant reminder like makes you want to work harder at it, I think. In my opinion, it makes me more anxious, so I have to. Okay, so now for how I actually study for the class. So my class, we probably have about like 10 lectures to cover every exam, and they look like this. So like I'll go in, this is just one lecture of information from neuro. So what I do before an exam, honestly, you should start like 3 days before with a class. Like I'd say this is like medium heavy, you know what I mean? I think biochem and Orgo 1 are like heavy. This is like medium heavy. Heavy like course load. But honestly, I was like, fuck it. And this one, I just pulled an all-nighter to do the day before the exam because I just had too much shit going. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna go, like the lecture I just showed you, you're gonna go lecture by lecture, review it, make sure you understand it, whatever, yada yada. And then you're gonna make the holy grail, okay? Your goal is to summarize each lecture onto one page. When you do more than one page per lecture, it can get overwhelming. So really try and limit yourself to one page. I had to get closer so you guys can see this, but like you see how I have lecture 22, and then if you scroll down, 23. So I kind of try and like limit myself to a page, but as you can see, lecture 22 was heavy. So you just go page by page, like with each lecture, and just go over the most important parts, like the points where you were like, aha, where she like really emphasized it, or any like drawings or schematics that you have to know type of thing. Write those down, babe. So at the end, this ended up being like a 14-page document. I had 10 lectures, so it honestly wasn't bad. And really, like after I write it, I don't have to reference it much. I think after I write it, I just have to go over it like one more time, and then maybe another time just on stuff that I was shaky about. But writing it the first time really just gets it into your brain. And I don't like to start too early because then I'll forget, you know? Oh, and I forgot to mention this, but like giving yourself a cute template to like make your notes look good so that you'll want to go back to them. That was like my biggest struggle. Like, let me show you what I used to do. Like, por ejemplo, this was my first neuroscience notebook when I didn't have an iPad yet. And just look how ugly it is. Like, I just have really ugly handwriting. And even on my lecture slides on my iPad, like my handwriting's really ugly on those because I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm getting the information in here for the first time. Is this shit upside down? Okay. No, yeah, like I didn't care. It would look really ugly, chicken scratch, too many sentences, yada yada. So when you make your like summative study guide, try to make sure that you're like, if you have really shitty handwriting like me, like you can tell, like I put time in on this house that it was legible. Not only legible, but like looks good. Like this is hella aesthetic, you can't even lie. And so when and I'm not a neat person at all. For example, like I'm not neat, okay, baby? Like I'm a mess. So for me, this is like really hard to care about. But once I started doing this, like being more organized in my notes, like not for the initial note taking, like for this, when I started being really neat, it's much easier to go back and look at. It's much easier to digest in general, and it looks like there's less information, and that's really important. But we're not done yet. So I'm gonna show y'all my setup. I have like a treadmill right here, so if I like while I'm reviewing lectures but not doing any writing, like I'm just swiping through, I'm walking. It's just better to have my mind active in both ways for some reason. Also, I have a whiteboard in my room now as of this semester. You don't need it to get straight A's, but it's been my secret weapon. I can't lie. Look at this gorgeous shit. You see this? These were the same pathways that are laid out way nicer in my iPad notes, but writing them on a whiteboard so you see them in two different formats really helps you like whip it out of your brain on the exam because my exams are all free response. There's no multiple choice, free response. So you really have to know what the fuck you're talking about or they can tell right away that you don't. And lastly, with a class like this where, like I said, you really have to know what you're talking about, when you're doing stuff like that, like say it like in your head, like turn away from the board and say it in your head, like what is what doing, what is it do, so that you know, like, is it activating this, are they like becoming a dimer, like you have to be specific in your language. So make sure you go through it in your mind and pretend like you're writing it out so that everything, like the way you're wording things makes sense, but it's also accurate to what you're thinking about. That's something that like really trips up kids in my class. Like they'll know the answer, but they're not as good at explaining themselves, you know? So yeah, I hope that helped. I would use this definitely in anatomy and physio, definitely in biology, and if you ever have neuroscience. I don't know what pharmacy classes are like yet, I haven't taken them yet. I think psych would also work. The point is that the options are endless. Like this is a foolproof study method. It gets me an A every time. And just to put some credibility by my name, this is the exam I just took yesterday with this study method. This is what that shit looked like, the shit that was on my board. It was hard, but I did it. And you can too.
It's a new year, which means it's a new semester, so if you want all A's this semester, here's exactly what you're gonna do step by step the very first week of school. By the way, if you don't know me, my name is Chi-Chi. I'm a sophomore in college, and I post all about college content, academics, social life, and I just like to yap. The first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna read all of your syllabi front to back. I know this step seems pretty easy to skip because like who wants to read it, but like honestly so many of my professors have like hidden extra credit or like little like contingencies about the class that I would never have known because they don't talk about it in class, but you actually need to know it to do well in the class. I recommend doing this before the classes even start. So for me, class starts on Monday. It's currently Sunday, so I'm gonna do that today, read all of my syllabi. Step 2 is going to be setting up your planner for the semester. This is so important, you guys don't even know. I already have a tutorial on my page about how I do my planner and everything, but if you want an updated tutorial, let me know because that was like a semester ago that I posted that. Using a planner is the key to staying on top of all your assignments and is the reason why I've never missed an assignment. Okay, now that you have your planner, step 3 is you're gonna write down all of your assignments in your planner for at least the first 3 weeks. If you see my other videos, I say to update it on a week-by-week basis, but for the first week, you're gonna do the first 3 weeks because it's a lot going on. It's drop ad period. You're figuring out your classes, you're figuring out your schedule. You don't wanna have to worry about what's due next week. This also helps you get ahead because a lot of times the very first week you don't have too much to do, so you can like start doing your assignments for the next couple weeks and it'll help lighten the load later on. Okay, moving on to step 4. At this point, we've already done all of the pre-class preparation, so the next thing we're gonna do is focus on what we're gonna do while we're actually in class for the first week. The first thing you need to do is look around, see if there's anybody that you know, and if there's not anybody that you know in that class, you need to get the numbers or Instagrams or Snapchats of at least 3 people in the class. I know this can be hard, especially if you have like social anxiety, don't want to talk to new people, but when I tell you, this will save you later on in the semester. When you're sick and you miss a class or you just don't feel like getting up for the 8 a.m., you have somebody to text like, hey, what did we do today? Hey, was their attendance taken? And the final step for this first week is when you go to your classes, you're gonna pick 2 of your professors that you feel like you can vibe with, that are maybe like the most chill. You're gonna go up to them after class and introduce yourself. So many people do not do this, and honestly, it is the most helpful thing that you could possibly do because your professors are in charge of your grades. So if you need an extension on an assignment or you need some extra credit, if they actually know you, if you've taken the time to say like, oh, hey, my name is Chichi, like blah, 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 they're gonna be more likely to give you that extension or give you that extra credit because they actually know you. Okay, that is all my tips for the first week of school. Good luck with all of your semesters, and if you want more college content, follow me.
So you want to learn how to make straight A's while putting in minimal work. Better save this video for later, for when you actually do your homework. If you're lazy when it comes to school, this video is for you. I know, because I like being lazy. I mean, who wants to put in more work for the same or lesser results? I'm going to tell you how. This is the cone of learning. This is the active zone, where you retain 70 to 90% of the material you study. And this is the passive zone, where you only retain 10 to 50% of what you study. So according to the cone of learning, what takes 4.5 hours to memorize in passive learning takes only half an hour to absorb using active learning techniques. So keeping that in mind, where on this cone do you think you want to be? You want to get good grades while putting in minimal work, you want to be in the active learning zone. So now you're probably thinking, okay, I want to be in the active learning zone, but how do I do active learning? One really good example is doing practice problems. For example, redoing the homework or looking in the textbook to find similar problems that you'll find on the test, and doing them without looking at the answer key. By forcing yourself to recall this information and not letting yourself look at the answers, you're forcing your brain to create new neural pathways that you're going to reinforce every single time you do a practice problem and remember again what that information was. By the time you get to the exam, those neural pathways you've created through practice problems will be so strong and reinforced that remembering the information that you need to know is just like, that's something that rewatching lectures and rereading notes will never do for you. Follow to learn the 4 active learning techniques you can use to work smarter and not harder.
I just finished my 3rd semester of college. That was the most difficult semester in my life, but I somehow kept my 4.0. So I want to give you some tips about things that I do while I'm actually studying that help me get all A's. Number 1 is always make a study plan. And when I say make a study plan, I mean physically write that shit out. Having a study plan just makes sure that I know exactly what I need to do that day and like what I need to get done before I leave like wherever I'm studying. The second thing I do is I turn my phone all the way off. Like I power that shit off. I'm somebody who gets so distracted so easily, so if my phone is even like on do not disturb, I'm gonna still use it. On top of keeping my phone off, I will literally put it like in my backpack and zip it up and like put my backpack in a different room. Like it's so bad. If I'm studying with my friends, I'll give my friends my phone so that I physically can't access it. Number 3 is I always go to the library every single time I study. It doesn't necessarily have to be a library, but it does need to be somewhere where I'm able to see all the people around me also studying. I feel like when I see other people studying, it kind of like puts me in the zone because like I said, I get distracted so easily, and when I'm by myself, like I could be literally locked in a box, like I'll find a way to get distracted. So when I see other students studying, I'm like, okay, if they can do it, I can do it too. The fourth thing I do is I don't listen to any music with lyrics at all. I usually like to listen to like lo-fi, or like I'll look up on YouTube ADHD study music. I'm not diagnosed with ADHD. I have my suspicions, but let me not go there. It seems like every time I look at the ADHD study music, it gets me right. The last thing I do is I don't go on breaks based off the time I've been studying. I know a lot of people do the Pomodoro method, which is like 25 minutes studying, 5 minutes off. However, I have tried that method like multiple times and it's just never worked for me because I'm the type of person that like I need 25 minutes just to lock in, and then my breaks are never actually 5 minutes, you know what I mean? So instead I take breaks based off tasks. So like whenever I finish a task, I'll take a break. So typically I'll be like an hour and a half on and then like 30 minutes off. And obviously like this won't work for everybody, but it works for me. Let me know if these tips were helpful for you, and I hope you all get all A's this semester. Bye!
So I made this a comprehensive guide of everything that you need to know or at least do well in university. Trust me, if you don't know this about this, you're going to want to save this and use this. If you know about this, you're probably already subconsciously using these techniques, which is good. But there are a few bullet points, so let's go through them. Number one, it's organization and planning. A, do you have a planner? Do you time block your stuff? Do you have like goals in mind when you go to study? When you sit down, do you just like start doing work, or do you actually know what you're going to do? Okay, number two, when it comes to like active recall and learning. Obviously, you're going to need to do the active recall, the spaced repetition, the learning curve shit. But my favorite and go-to is always explain it to someone else. I will sometimes just turn on my camera, explain it to myself, and then see where I'm like lagging. It takes time though, so like put time aside for this. But it shows you exactly where you don't understand something and you're lacking that knowledge to actually explain it. So that's what you're going to need to target when studying. Number three, you need to take effective notes. I've said it this year and I've said it last year. I swear, my favorite note-taking technique that's literally gotten me like 90s in courses where I was like, oh my god, I didn't expect. Okay, so also my technique works best if your lectures are recorded. Like this won't work if you're going in person and just taking notes. Like this doesn't work. It does if you have like a really good attention span, but I don't. What you're going to do is have your lecture recording on one side. I usually do my iPad. Open your lecture recording, open your computer, go on Google Docs, open a note page, put in landscape, not portrait. I don't like portrait, okay? So that's just like my personal thing. I put on landscape. Once it's on landscape, you're going to put a chart and do it however. I like to see stuff in charts. It makes sense. I make a chart with 2 columns, and whatever the professor says, I just type it. I type it into my chart. It's going to be like crucial information and examples. I swear, if you just type up what the professor says and like what's important on the slides that he specifically tells you to do, you are going to do so well because you're not omitting any information, and your notes are going to be so compact and so dense that it's just like information he only wants you to learn, or your professor wants you to learn. Trust me, condense your notes, do it like this. You're going to do so good. Obviously, when it comes to notes, again, like use mind maps, use visual aids to like help you visualize the information instead of just like seeing words. But yeah, find a good note-taking technique that works for you. Number 4 is about focus and like productivity. It's obvious, like if you're gonna do serious work, be alone in a place where you have no distractions. Like it works best. Don't study in a crowded library. The Pomodoro technique if you want. I don't like the Pomodoro technique because I feel like at the end of 25 minutes, I like want to study more. I just put 30-minute timers that I just keep repeating until I like want to break. It's good because I can go for 4 hours and then half an hour, but it'll be at my flow. That being said, you need breaks. Like you need to take breaks. Okay, and then lastly, this is how you can like retain your information better. 1, connect ideas. I know this seems like weird if you have like a bunch of courses in different fields and you're like, why is any of this connected? Like trust me, just link concepts together. If you're having time memorizing like a hard concept and like math or physiology or something, tie it to like a concept you already know in anatomy. If you don't have another concept you can tie it to, make one. Make a link between 2 things in your brain. That's how you remember stuff. So form those connections. Make random link. That's why like absurd mnemonics always works, because we make links between like 2 different things, but you like remember. That's why mnemonics also works. So use mnemonics if you want to retain information too, because I use that to learn my amino acids and I had like this ridiculous acronym and it worked so well. Lastly, this is like my last ultimate tip, and it's not even like an ultimate tip. Practice questions. You cannot do well if you're not doing practice questions. Get your ass on those practice questions. Go find past papers. Do all the textbook problems. The more practice questions, I swear it's a positive correlation. The more practice questions you do, the better your grade is. So I swear by these. But yes, save this video for future reference if you want to do well at uni. Just trust, it took me years to realize that this is a comprehensive guide that I need to be following.